Hello and welcome to Bitcoin Today from Crypto Corners. Here's everything you need to know about the price of Bitcoin for today, Wednesday, July 16th. Well, the price did dip a bit yesterday, but it actually gave us a very important signal. Even though the price went down by almost 6%, there were a ton of buyers ready and waiting to take advantage of that dip. And that's something you do not see very often, especially lately. In fact, it's been 7 months since we've seen as much trading volume as we did yesterday. I'll get back to that in a moment when we'll pull up the charts. But the main takeaway for Bitcoin holders, it's good news. There's absolutely no sign of panic or a price avalanche right now. Let's look at the crypto sentiment score first. It's always a good way to look at the mood in the crypto market. Well, it has ticked up slightly to a 5 out of 10. It's nothing spectacular, of course, and it clearly shows once again that the sentiment is now more wait and see than truly euphoric or positive. And this has a lot to do with the disappointing inflation data that came out of the US yesterday. By the way, more figures will be coming in today and tomorrow, but I'll get to that in a bit. I'd be very surprised if we'd see sentiment increase much over the next couple of days. Okay, on to monthly volatility. Nothing new to report here compared to yesterday. It's still at 17.2%, which is about 4.5% lower than what we might expect for July. Based on what we've seen over the last 6 months, the average monthly volatility, you'd expect it to be around 22%. So at 17.2%, we're significantly lower, which means we will likely see prices that will move out of the monthly range for now, the July monthly range. And our current monthly range for July, you can look this up on the month chart yourself, is on the lower bound, it's $101,300, and the upper bound is $127,800. So you might want to keep an eye on that bounce, on that range, because if the price breaks out of that range on the monthly chart, this could become a very interesting month for Bitcoin. It is already a very interesting month with all the new all-time highs, but it could even become spectacular. We'll see what happens. We still have over 2 weeks to go, but on a day-to-day basis, there's also plenty going on. Firstly, the average daily volatility is also unchanged. It's still at 4.6%, and it will likely stay there for a few more days, unless we'll see a new all-time high or a drop well below the $100,000 mark in the next few days. Frankly, it doesn't seem too realistic at the moment, so you could expect a daily volatility of around 4.6%. for the next coming days. And if you want to know why it's fixed at 4.6% at the moment, it's calculated, the average is calculated based on the last 30 days. And if you look at the day chart, you would see that there is one low there. I think it's about 98,100. About 25 days ago, that low will disappear because it's a rolling average in about 5-6 days time. And then we'll have a completely different daily volatility average. But for now, 4.6%. So if you take yesterday's high and low as a guide, you could expect the range for today, and today would probably be a calm day, to be between $114,700 and $121,000. And I should add, I'm recording this podcast at 11:15 European time in the morning. The Bitcoin price is playing it safe right now, and it's staying neatly within that range. And that's different from yesterday and from the day before yesterday, when we had already prices outside of the range whilst I was recording. So it looks like things are calming down a little bit with a little bit less volatility. But if that changes, if the price suddenly drops towards $114,000 or even lower, we could be in for another very interesting day. That would be interesting day number 3 in a row, actually. We might get more clarity on this afternoon when more inflation-related data comes out of the US. More on that in a moment, but first let's look at the daily chart. Now, as you know, this is an audio-only podcast, but if you want to see the charts I'm discussing, you can always find them on the show notes page for this episode, which you will find at bitcointodaypodcast.com. Okay, the daily chart, it clearly shows that yesterday's price drop was nothing else but a simple retracement, a simple pause. And there's something very interesting to see on that chart. If you pull up the Bitcoin daily chart and if you zoom out to, let's say, last October or November, you'll immediately see all the volume bars from the last 7 months at the bottom. And you'll notice something. Yesterday's volume bar, which represents the total amount of Bitcoin that was traded yesterday, is actually the highest it's been in a very long time. It was the highest volume since early December 24 in one day, 7 months ago. So we haven't seen so much volume in 7 months, and that is crucial. Despite the price drop, there was so much volume yesterday that the decline didn't turn into panic selling. Every seller who wanted to take profit had a buyer happy to take those Bitcoins off their hands, and this has a few implications. Firstly, it clearly shows that there's a lot of confidence in Bitcoin. And it also shows that while a price drop might be triggered, for instance because of a long squeeze, there is enough underlying confidence to absorb the selling pressure. And it also means the trend on the daily chart, despite the drop, remains solidly and stably bullish. You can also see this if you would pull up the Fibonacci retracement tool that I think we drew earlier this week. Oh yeah, after the last all-time high, 123,000 on Bitstamp. You'll see that the support level we have around 170,400, which is also the first Fibonacci retracement line. It's holding up perfectly. It held yesterday and it has held for a few days now. The price did dip below it for a moment, but then shot back up and closed just about that support line yesterday. And right now, as I'm recording this, the price is still above it. In short, if I look at the daily chart, it seems like the dip has found its bottom. What's a bit of a shame, and I think I mentioned this yesterday, it's that we didn't quite touch the next support line, the next retracement level at 113,700. Hitting that level would have legitimized that all-time high we saw a couple of days ago, that 123,000. It sounds strange, but we could just see another rapid price increase to a new all-time high without having had a dip first, a swing low first. And that's exciting, but it means that the next euphoric high feels, well, you never really know if it's sustainable. For a healthy bullish trend, you really need those pullbacks to establish higher lows, and we haven't seen a real pullback yet. The trend is bullish on the daily chart, but the all-time highs are distorting the picture a bit. It feels like more euphoria than reality at this point, and I'd much rather see a stable trend with steady price movements. An occasional new high, followed by a low that's higher than the previous one, then a high that's higher than the last, etc. But right now, we're just not getting any significant lows. The price has been going up for days in a row. So to figure out if we have really hit the bottom of this dip, we need to zoom out. Zoom in actually, a bit further. The daily chart doesn't give us enough data, so let's have a look at the hourly chart. And again, you can find these charts on the show notes for this podcast, bitcointodaypodcast.com. The hourly chart is bearish, just like it was yesterday. It looks like it's about to turn, but you hear me kind of hesitating. It looks like it's about to turn. There just isn't a convincing trend reversal yet. For the trend to flip to bullish, we need to see higher highs and higher lows on the hourly chart, and we're not there yet. However, the price has been holding about the second retracement zone at 170,200 for several hours now. That zone was tested pretty much all day yesterday. Since my last analysis, the price has just been hovering around that line, a bit below, a bit above, etc., etc. It's been above it for a few hours right now, but because we can't see a clear trend on the hourly chart yet, it's hard to draw any firm conclusions about whether this dip is now finally over. What you could do, you could zoom in even further, for instance to the 5-minute chart. If you were to pull the 5-minute chart up, you would see a convincing bullish trend. Everything aligns on the 5-minute chart. The price is above the 20-period moving average, the MA20 is above the MA50, the MA50 is about the MA200. It's simply textbook. So there's a good chance, since the 5-minute chart is giving a very clear bullish signal, that the hourly chart will soon follow, and we'll see that play out in the coming hours. But then, at the same time, this afternoon, it's going to be tense again. Zooming out a little bit. Are there any major warning signs on the charts? Just like yesterday? The answer is no. First, and this is really important, that extremely high volume during yesterday's price drop, it very clearly shows that all the profit taking was neatly absorbed by buyers who wanted Bitcoin at that price. And secondly, the Fibonacci retracement zones on the daily chart and the hourly chart, they seem to be holding firm as support. And thirdly, the heat map on coin360.com, it was all red yesterday and now it's showing some green again. Prices apparently are starting to recover, and I'm talking about altcoin prices too here. But then this afternoon, I think about 2:30 p.m. European time, we'll be getting more data out of the US. This time it's about manufacturer inflation, so the inflation that manufacturers are actually experiencing. If those numbers are, just like they were yesterday, negative again, then the likelihood of interest rates hikes will increase, and that in turn could lead to more pessimism for the Bitcoin price. I'm talking about short-term price drops, Bitcoin price drops. To be clear, this is about price. This has nothing to do with value. There's nothing wrong with Bitcoin. What you see in the markets is just opinion and sentiment. And naturally, sentiment isn't going to be optimistic if there's a threat of higher interest rates. So if this afternoon's, actually I'm repeating myself, I said the same thing yesterday. So if the afternoon inflation numbers are disappointing, I would count on the Bitcoin price to fall. On the flip side, if the numbers are surprisingly good and Wall Street suddenly becomes extremely optimistic, which I would find very surprising, but let's imagine, then we could even see a new all-time high this afternoon. I have to say, I think the chances of that happening, very slim. The odds of suddenly getting optimistic figures from the US are low, especially since the recent tariffs are already having an impact and the real effects haven't even fully kicked in yet. And just to be perfectly clear, whatever I tell you, whether I think the price will go up or down, this is not advice. It is certainly not financial advice. The only thing I'm sharing here is what I think might happen, my expectation. It's not a prediction. I know people can't make predictions. I'm just sharing my analysis. I'm not giving you tips. Please keep that in mind. You should always make your own decision about whether to buy or sell anything, including Bitcoin. Okay, that's it for today's podcast. Let's meet again tomorrow in the next episode of the Bitcoin Today podcast. Until then, bye.